Welcome back to another episode of WJ Live, powered by the Western Journal. I'm George Upper, editor-in-chief of the Western Journal, reminding you as always to click that subscribe button and the bell next to it so you'll never miss an episode of WJ Live when we try to bring you the truth about the news of the day from America's largest and most influential publisher of Christian conservative news and commentary, the Western Journal. On today's WJ Live, Manager of Publishing Operations, Brian Chai, that title is so long that I'm probably never going to use it again, wants to know what Vice President Harris has been doing as the Biden administration's border crisis czar. And I'll attempt with the assistance of my able co-hosts here to answer that question. But first, Deputy Managing Editor Josh Manning. That's Brian Chai, by the way, in case you couldn't figure out between the two. That would be
He's
Josh.
Chai. I'm Manning.
Exactly. Josh has some new revelations from recently disclosed emails written by Joe Biden's chief medical advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Have you ever had an email come back to bite you?
Almost all of them.
Almost all of them. My dad once told me never put in writing anything you wouldn't say in front of a group of people. Very wise, very wise. Now, we have gotten a hold of a cache of emails from America's favorite doctor, Dr. Anthony Fauci. And these part of America, the part of America that wants to shut down America and turn us into
California's favorite doctor.
California, California's
probably New York.
Doctor.
Yeah.
But anyway, we have gotten a cache of his emails. We're going through them, looking at them, but we found some very interesting things. And I wanted to bring one to your attention. You guys, we've discussed it in the newsroom. We've discussed it on the website. We've discussed it on the show. Masks, are masks all they're cracked up to be? Are they not? At different points in this entire mess, masks have been the things that were going to save us all. Masks were the things you wear to protect yourself. Then you never wear masks to protect yourself. You wear them to protect everybody else. Then it turns out they don't work at all.
Yeah.
Then you wear 4 of them. Yes. So what we have, though, is from the Grand Poobah himself, Anthony Fauci. And I'm going to read you a few quotes from an email. This was an email exchange with the director of the National Institute, he's director of the National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Diseases. This is an exchange with Sylvia Burwell, president of American University and a former Secretary of Health and Human Services. Fauci was responding to a question she asked, and he said that masks are, quote, not really effective in keeping out the virus. This was in February 2020. These, and that's from newly released emails. I believe the Washington Post got those. Yeah, WAPO got them through a FOIA act. Fauci was responding to an email from Burwell, wherein she said 2 quick questions. 1, I'm traveling to a redacted location. Folks are suggesting I take a mask for the airport. Is this something I should do? Fauci responded at 3 in the morning, because he was checking his messages at 3 in the morning. He said, masks are really...
I have done that. I've done.
Masks are really for infected people to prevent them from spreading infection to people who are not infected. Wait a minute!
I thought it was the other way around.
That's not what we were told. Rather than protecting uninfected people from acquiring infection. Wait a minute! That's not what we were told. The typical mask, again, quoting Fauci, the typical mask you buy in the drugstore is not really effective in keeping out virus, which is which is small enough to pass through the material. It might, however, provide you some slight benefit in keeping out, again, still quoting, gross droplets if someone coughs or sneezes on you. Not in your vicinity, not in the same building with you, on you.
6 feet. That was not what they were
6
saying.
feet, not 6 feet away. This is somebody who coughs
If
on
somebody
you.
sneezes on you from 6 feet away, that's an impressive act.
Now, if you are watching, we're going to let you vote right now. If you would like me to demonstrate sneezing on a person on George Upper, we want you to press 1. If you would prefer that we not demonstrate that,
if you would prefer that Josh Manning keep his job, press 2.
We want you, to press 1 as well. So, fellas, now look, we have all been in a developing situation where the thing we thought at first maybe wasn't quite right.
Sure.
That happens. But if you track Fauci on yes masks, no masks. I mean, he is up and down like this over the last 18 months. What do you make of these comments? He originally said, well, you know, I played down masks because we needed the medical people to get the masks. Yeah. Is that what he's doing here? Is he playing down masks to his friend so his friend doesn't take 2 masks?
I can't imagine he's
from doctors.
Yeah, playing down masks to an individual person who is, you know, about to get on an airplane, and which I gotta believe that if there's any place you're going to catch COVID-19.
It's an airport.
It's probably an airplane. It's, you know, all that recycled air and everybody's in close proximity with one another. And I'm sure they filter the air somehow, but that's a lot of people in a very little space. And so if he feels like he can tell presumably his friend that, no, you'll be safe if you don't wear a mask. There's no reason really to wear a mask unless you are expecting to get sneezed on directly. You know, that would, at the very least, that would seem to indicate that that was his best understanding of what was going on at the time.
So his friend went on to ask, do you think masks are all they're cracked up to be, or should we spend the money we might be thinking about spending on masks? Should we spend that on something else? She said, would money be better spent on diagnostics or vaccine work? Fauci responded that her, quote, instincts were correct. Money is best spent on medical countermeasures such as diagnostics and vaccines. You know, those things Trump helped develop.
Paid for. Yep.
Paid for. And folks, I've done you a disservice. I should have checked out how much money we've spent on masks since all of this started. But imagine that amount of money diverted to vaccine creation and distribution. Brian, this to me makes Fauci look like so much more of a fraud than he originally looked. He at least had an explanation or an excuse before. Hey, I tricked you. I'm sorry. It was for your own good. But maybe that was not true.
Extremely elitist explanation, but at least it is one.
Yeah, I think to me, the thing that really stuck out when we kind of saw these emails come out, it's sort of like, yeah, from all indications, Fauci is just a hypocritical, fame grabber. Like he just he saw a chance to grab some power, notoriety, and he took it. If I'm going to be brutally honest, I would struggle to blame a person for that. But the part that bugs me is that Fauci, he's got all these emails that kind of show, at the very least, his mind can change on a subject, as anyone should, as new facts come to light. Then why the heck was Fauci for all this time being presented as the be-all, end-all, absolute king of all this? We have to listen to everything he says. Like, that's where I get hung up. It's sort of like, if Fauci was simply a doctor who came out and said, like, hey, like, COVID's bad, I think you should do this, and that was it, sure. I have no problem with his opinion changing. I would have no problem with these emails being exposed. None of that. But him, just the way he did handle it just reeks to me.
Yeah, his interview with People magazine. And look, I understand the director of the National Center for Allergies, whatever it's called, and infectious
Sneezes,
diseases.
I think.
Yeah.
Sneezes.
Is that what it stands for?
The Czar of Sneezes. That's his official title.
That's an important role. This is a guy with some power in Washington, D.C., right? But it's also a guy who, under normal circumstances, and he's had a long career with this organization, would not be recognized on the streets of any major city in the country except for D.C., right? He has a fair amount of power and no notoriety, no fame, no recognition. So I'm kind of with Brian. At least I understand the temptation to want to sort of cash in on the role and get my face in front of the American people. I don't want to do that, but I can understand why some people would want to do that, and this would be a great opportunity for him. But one of the things that should come with that kind of important role is the character to withstand that sort of temptation.
That's a tall ask.
It is a very tall ask. It is a tall ask, but that's And it's an impossible ask in our current situation because we've given so much power to so many people in the federal government. You can't find that many people with that level of character to hold those positions.
So George, as the official voice of the white patriarchy, do you think it's time for
that was
Fauci?
you.
Only on Sundays.
Oh,
Do
okay.
you think it's time for Fauci to go?
Do I think it's time for Fauci to go? Yes, but probably not because of this. I think he's been in that role. I want to say he's been in that role or similar roles in that organization for upwards of 30 years.
Yeah.
It's time for him to go. That is a lot of power in one elected. Look, the whole organization should go. Let's start with that. This is not an organization that should be run by the federal government. It should just be disbanded with. And so, he should go. He should take everybody with him. There are parts of it probably that could be privatized. Maybe a few little sections that could, be foisted off into some other agency if we really feel like there are national security implications or whatever. But who does research better, the private sector or?
Well, I know where the vaccines are coming from.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I'm no big fan of big pharma either. I think there are real issues there.
Yeah.
But it's the same issue. They've gotten so big and so powerful, and they're unelected, and that's an issue.
So, Brian, as our representative of the Far East,
Yes.
you have mystical powers and the ability to see into the future.
We're going to get letters.
That's fine.
Do you think once Fauci, and this is the last thing, we got to move on, but do you think once Fauci's gone, do we get Fauci number 2, or once Fauci's gone, does the fame go with him? That position recedes into the background, and
I do think Fauci was a bit of a perfect storm. Like George said, no one had heard of him until the coronavirus stuff kind of exploded. But by that same token, when you originally posited the question, Josh, it did sort of make me think, the old saying about, the devil you know. In this case, like, we know what we're getting with Fauci. Like, there's a chance that there could be a worse version of Fauci out there. Like,
interesting.
Even more
sure are.
egomaniacal, even more power hungry. Like, there is a very good chance that could be the next Fauci, in which case I think would make things worse.
I think he should step down, and Biden should name Maxine Waters as his replacement. I think that would be and the reason I
certainly
think
cripple the organization.
bingo.
Sorry,
it would
didn't mean to step on your punchline.
It would destroy the agency, which, as I just said a moment ago, is exactly my goal. It would also give us a lot to write about.
That's true.
We'd have a lot
That's
of fun
true.
covering
That is true.
So my vote's for Maxine Waters in that role. That's
Well
what
done, gentlemen.
That's what I'd do, Brian.
Honestly, I'd probably be better with Maxine Waters than Kamala Harris, who I want to talk about
Who's
today.
getting more and more power. It's very interesting.
sorta.
She's more and more responsible for all sorts of things.
Right, and not using it, but we'll get to that.
So I guess one of the things I want to bring up with you guys today is so on a recent episode of CNN, or just a segment on CNN, they reported that Harris's, team. I'm going to assume this is mostly consisting of PR, experts.
Sure.
Harris's
people,
team
whatever.
is feeling that she's getting a lot of undue bad press because of her lack of handling the situation at the border. Her team feels like she's being unfairly mischaracterized for, again, just not doing anything at the southern border.
She hadn't even been there.
Yeah, while kind of conveniently ignoring that Joe Biden absolutely tabbed Kamala Harris to handle the situation at the border. Like
3 months ago.
Yeah, like this isn't something like, right-wing media has just conjured up here. Like Joe Biden legitimately told Kamala Harris, you are the border czar.
Right.
Please go fix it, and she has yet to visit it. Like the Kamala's team making this seem like this is all just, mischaracterization and lies. Like it's not. Facts are facts. Whether you love Kamala Harris or you don't, it is inarguable that she has yet to visit the border.
Right.
Like that is that's fact. So I guess the first part of this, I want to take it from the sort of the Harris angle is, what's going on at the southern border? Like, why? I mean, obviously, I think Joe Biden made a mistake kind of tabbing Harris to run this thing. But what happened? Because not that things were fixed under Trump, but like the trajectory was up, and somehow it's taken Biden all of 100+ days to completely change the trajectory. So, what's the where does the blame lie here as far as what's going on at the southern border?
I love the last thing you said. It made me think of a conservative maxim that's out there. Essentially, it is so much easier to destroy things than to create things. Mm-hmm. And it took an unbelievable amount of effort, both physical, fiscally, and as far as PR goes, to get the border in the kind of shape we had it when Biden took over. And we all know it wasn't anywhere near perfect at that point, but it was at least better. It's so much easier to destroy things than to build things. And all you have to do is not pay attention for a little while, and things degenerate.
That's what happened,
super quickly, and that's what happened. This thought just hit me in the middle of this. I'm not positive why Biden would do it. I wonder if it's kind of a suicide mission, something you hand somebody who you want to see fail.
I have wondered the same thing, if he's torpedoing his vice president.
And he's still he's saying like he does want to run again. That's the last thing I heard. If you guys heard something you were
I
telling
heard that
me.
also.
Maybe he thinks he essentially is cutting off a palace coup that would show up in 18 months. I don't know.
And I mean, Biden, I was going to say he's not dumb. He might be dumb, but Biden is aware of things going. Like the narrative that he is just a placeholder for Harris. Like he knows that narrative's out there. Like he has to know that's out there. Which that's an interesting thought, Joe. I had never thought of.
I don't know
Biden's role.
I don't know if it's true, but I don't.
Maybe even like a Freudian level,
or she's just a convenient person to give the hot potato to.
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of the same thing, but with a somewhat less insidious,
less cynical.
less sinister motive. One of the things the vice president should do for the president is take the bad stuff off his plate. Let the president look good, and that's true in lots of organizations. In the Navy, it's always the XO, the executive officer, who gives the bad news to the crew, and the captain gives the good news. Reagan was famous for that. His press people always delivered bad news. When something good happened, he did a news conference. He did it brilliantly. So it could be a matter of just you take this. Charlie Foxtrot is what we used to call it in the Army, and and you figure it out. You handle the press. You do these news conferences because I don't want anything to do with it.
So then, is she just essentially refusing to play the game? Fine, give it to me. I'm never going to go.
That would be my next sort of question. Yeah,
that would be my play.
Is that just sort of the passive aggressive way of like, sure, sure,
make me,
sure, I'll take that. Yeah, whatever.
Very interesting. I had never thought of that.
She knows she's not going to get. Well, she knows the conservative part of the electorate already can't stand her and is way more wary of her than they are of Biden.
Right.
So,
and truly, what's she going to do? She's the vice president. Yeah. She doesn't really have any authority to do much of anything.
She was good at putting minorities in jail for small drug offenses.
She did excel at that for a while. She has a good history of that. So maybe that was Biden's play. There are a lot of minorities at the border who are guilty of drug offenses. Go get them.
Go put them in jail.
Go get them, Kamala. Maybe that's his thinking.
I will say this whole episode did remind me of something. That's kind of the different angle I want to come at this because this whole episode reminded me. Do you guys think that border security, but particularly along our southern border, do you think that's still a particularly important issue for conservatives?
Yes.
Vital.
Okay.
There are a couple of issues right now that I think utterly destroy the conservative movement and America. If they're allowed to play out, and the flood of illegals, and then the continual process of slow motion amnesty is one of them.
Yeah, I think there are two issues that are going to be, barring unforeseen events. I think there are two issues in the 22 election and possibly even as far out as the 24 election that are going to be paramount. The border's one of them, and inflation is going to be the other. That's my
that's starting.
We're already seeing inflation, gas prices, and energy costs in general, and a lot of large financial advising firms are saying sometime in 2022, first or second quarter, they expect to see things starting to really turn south at that point as a result of Biden's spending and et cetera. So, we'll see what happens, but that's what I'm looking for.
That's interesting because, I mean, my wife likes to say I'm argumentative. I like to think that I like to engage in debates. So just to
talking about.
Just to play the counterpoint here, though, like it does sort of feel, at least anecdotally, since Trump has left and since social media has essentially just cut his voice, they've silenced him. The border security stuff just doesn't seem as prevalent to me. Not saying it shouldn't be. I'm just saying anecdotally, it doesn't seem to be the case anymore.
You mean you just don't see it out in the media?
Yeah, like I don't see people talking about it. I don't see it being made a big deal. And I do wonder, there's some calculation in like, I agree 100% border security is a vital issue. I don't know if it's going to flip any votes. Like I feel like at this point.
No, I think that vote's solidified.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to, I don't think the right is going to win over the hearts and minds of the left on this issue. And I think you'll see you're right. It has been a little more quiet. I think the news cycle in general recently is sort of up in the air. Like no one's quite sure what what the big issues of the day are. There's a big sigh of relief as people are feeling that COVID is, coming under control, or the federal government's coming under control, however you want to phrase that. But I think that we haven't quite moved on to the next thing yet either. And I think the border could be that next thing. But who knows? I mean, North Korea could do something insane. China's making noise about increasing their nuclear arsenal because of things that Joe Biden has said. There's who knows what could happen between now and then. But those are the things that seem to me to be kind of issues. It may all be moot, of course, if the left gets their way on voter rights legislation.
That's the other one.
So
the other threat.
Joe Biden, because she's done, I guess, such an amazingly good job as the border crisis czar, she is now the voter rights legislation czar. I don't think anyone's calling her a czar except me, but it's handy shorthand. She has been put in charge, tapped by Joe Biden, as they say, to work along with, quote, voting rights organizations, community organizations, and the private sector to help strengthen and uplift efforts on voting rights nationwide. And specifically what she's talking about is getting Congress to pass two bills, the For the People Act, which we have talked about quite a bit on WJ Live. We all hate it with very good reason. And then the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, which, according to Harris, quote, would prevent discriminatory changes to voting laws and procedures. And since leftists see discrimination wherever they decide they want to see it, it would, in essence, enable the federal government to do whatever the heck they wanted when it came to voting procedures. Now, I say that this is good for Republicans. That Kamala Harris being put in charge of this is good for Republicans because she's been completely ineffective in her role as vice president, which I would argue is over her head. I don't think she's ever done anything that prepared her for this role on a national stage. Yep. She doesn't know what she's doing. Not saying she can't learn it. I'm just saying she hadn't yet.
I mean, Biden's first credential that he touts or that he touted for the vice presidency, it has to be a woman of color.
Right. Exactly.
Actual experience.
She qualified for that.
None of that. Yeah, that was all, ancillary, but she was a woman of color, so therefore she was qualified to be vice president.
Exactly. So, she can grow in the role. Anybody can, I would imagine, but she hasn't. She hasn't to this point. So she's been the border crisis czar for coming up on 3 months. I can't remember when in March he tapped her for that, but it was in March. So we're going on month number 3. She's done literally nothing, has not even been to the border. And as Brian just said, she now has her people trying to distance herself even from that title, from that role, that designation. So do you guys agree with that? Should Republicans be happy to hear she's going into this role? Brian, what do you think?
Yes, because like you said, she doesn't exactly have a track record of rousing success. But I think the other thing is, you know, and again, this is purely anecdotal, but just, you know, I've been noticing a lot, you know, I've been going through kind of Western Journal reader comments, just kind of gauging how our audience feels about what's going on these days. And what I've noticed is that Harris seems to be becoming more vilified than even Biden. There's almost a sense with Biden that it's like, you know, not to make fun of you, George, but it's like, okay, old guy, just, you know, stay in your corner. We got you. And as opposed to Harris, who, you know, is probably perceived as the bigger potential threat. So I think the other added benefit is almost like Biden distancing himself from this and attaching Harris to the issue. I think that can really get conservatives fired up, because I do genuinely think there is more disdain for Harris right now than there is for Biden.
So, okay, so we go back to the Manning theory then. There is almost no chance that either of these pieces of legislation get 60 votes needed to pass filibuster or to break the filibuster in the Senate. Joe Biden must be looking at that and thinking, we can't win this. Is this the second time he's put a hot potato in Kamala Harris's hands to let her fail at it and get it kind of off his desk?
I don't know. I guess that's as good an explanation as any other I've got. I mean, there's a question of why you would advance legislation that you know is doomed. I think you do that so that you can tell your base that, hey, we tried to do this.
Yeah.
Apparently saying we tried to do it and failed is you know, laudable.
Well, no. It won't say we tried and failed. It'll say we tried and those guys.
Yeah, the racists.
The racist conservatives. Those guys.
Leftists do not vote on competence. They vote on intention. They vote on how nice you are.
That's good.
It doesn't matter if you are completely inability to accomplish anything, as we have seen over and over. I mean, you know, who's Secretary of Transportation right now?
So if I agree with that, but if that's true, then it doesn't really matter that she's given a hot potato that she can't really do anything with. She tried.
Yeah. That's an interesting point.
I don't know how to parse that.
Yeah.
I don't know how to take that apart and kind of weigh the pieces.
You know, here's a thought, George. Based on what you said, maybe Biden is handing Harris these impossible tasks, not from a malicious sense, but from a sense of like, if anyone criticizes Harris about her handling this, oh, you're sexist, oh, you're racist. You know, with Biden doesn't really get those protections, you know?
That's true.
So I wonder if
Biden is what he hates.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
So I wonder if that plays some role in it, where there's just Biden feels like Harris has this built-in immunity, so you give her the stuff that you're pretty sure she's not going to succeed at.
Yeah.
Just under the umbrella of anyone who criticizes her is only doing so because she's a woman of color.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good thought, Brian. All right, so now it's time for America's favorite game show, Dumb or Dishonest.
Yes.
Harris issued a statement that, quote, no American should be kept from voting early, voting by mail, or voting at all. There have been, I believe, 380 or so state-level voting reform bills proposed by state legislators since the disastrous 2020 election in November.
Yikes.
But none of those 380 bills that I'm aware of eliminates early voting, voting by mail, or voting at all. It may limit hours or, you know, put some sorts of restrictions on it. Early voting is limited to, 2 weeks instead of 4 or whatever. It has some of that stuff in it. But none of this stuff is in danger of going away. Is Harris unaware of this fact, or is she aware and lying about it?
Oh, she is 100% aware and lying of it. What? I mean, look, you want to extend grace to somebody up to a point, but how many times has the left done this? I mean, I remember when my grandparents were supposed to be eating dog food because of how the GOP was handling entitlements. They have screamed bloody murder time and time again about things that don't exist or that were not dangerous, while at the same time ignoring existential threats to the republic. And all it is a play to get power. So yeah, I think it's completely dishonest. I don't think there's I think it's unbelievably cynical, and it shows how incomprehensibly stupid she thinks the people listening to her are.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a great point. Brian,
1000%.
dumb or dishonest?
Yes.
You're sticking with that.
Yes. No, I'll lean towards the dishonest because, far be it for me to ever compliment Kamala Harris on this program, but I actually
But he's
think,
about to.
Yes, I'm about to. I think she is an incredibly calculating person. I think there is a certain level of kind of just shucksness to Biden.
To Joe, yeah. At least in his public persona.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think Harris has that at all. I think there is some legitimate calculation. Which is why I want to say, which is why I lean towards dishonest over dumb. I think she knows what she's doing. She much to Josh's point, she knows what she's doing. She knows what she's saying. She knows who she's saying it to. She knows all that without a doubt. And the fact that she's manipulating the truth, that's just another calculation. So yeah, definitely dishonest.
Yeah. All right. It's unanimous then. I'm with. I think there are some things that I don't know whether dumb is the right word to describe it, but there are some things that some people on the left believe simply because they see the world differently than I do. And so their calculations are different. It's not it's dumb in the sense of it's ignorant because they're not acknowledging reality. The number of genders that exist, for example, that is a worldview difference. And if you just accept that there are an infinite number of genders, well, that does have certain consequences, and you can intelligently think through those consequences. You can believe all that and not necessarily be dumb. You're wrong, but you're not dumb necessarily. You can also believe all it, still be dumb. But I don't think that's the case here. I think Harris is well aware, better than I am, of what's in these 380 bills, and because I will frankly state before God and America, I have not read all 380 of these proposed bills. In fact, I think I've only read one of them. All right, so some of you in our audience probably heard me say last week and again on Monday's show that we were running a Memorial Day sale on Western Journal memberships at westernjournal.com/join. Maybe you considered joining, realized Memorial Day had come and gone because it was 2 days ago now. And you thought you missed it. Well, you did miss it. But have I got a deal for you? So many Western Journal readers and truth-loving American patriots took advantage of that sale that I actually asked our marketing department. That might be too strong or too light a word. I talked to our marketing department into running it again. This time, not as a Memorial Day sale, because that was 2 days ago. That would be dumb. This time as a Flag Day sale. Now, a surprising number of Americans, Brian, don't know when Flag Day is. But I think our readers probably do.
I'm sure they
do. You know when Flag Day is?
I'm not American, so.
Oh, that's right. You're Hawaiian. I forgot. In case you didn't know, it is June 14th. Also happens to be Donald Trump's birthday. So if you can't remember Flag Day, you ought to be able to remember that.
It's also his birthday.
That not even a little bit true. Nope.
I don't know how to lie.
I don't have a birthday. So so you've got about 12 days from right now, from the time I'm speaking, to the end of that sale. And I don't know that I'm going to be able to talk marketing into doing this again after it runs out on the 14th. So, I'm charming and persuasive, but I know, there are limits. There are limits. Friends, the truth is we're on a battle. We're on the front lines of a battle against establishment media bias and fake news. We fight it in here every day, and now you can join the Western Journal in that fight to get the truth to the American people. And because of this sale, it's not only easy, but it's cheap. It's literally $1.26 a week. It's not even 20 cents a day. It's like 18 cents a day. You can find that in your couch cushions, or at least you used to be able to when people carried change with them. I don't think people ever look in their couch cushions for change anymore. But it's less than 20 cents a day. So go to westernjournal.com/join, become a member today. There are a couple of different levels of membership. They've got some different perks. I'm not going to go into all of that. It's very easy to figure that out on the page. You can easily read all about it right there, westernjournal.com/join, just like it says on your screen. And with that, we must say sayonara. We said adieu on Friday. We said farewell on Monday. And today we're saying sayonara.
Oh, frick.
There's no particular reason why I picked that one, Brian. It's just coincidence. We'll be here to bring you the truth every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. So we'll see you again on the next episode of WJ Live, powered by the Western Journal. Thank you for joining us today. Stay safe.
Hey guys, huge story. We need a fresh card. Let's red label it. Roll as fast as we can.
All right, on it. Sounds good. All right, guys, we got a red label breaking story. Can we get a picture for that? And can we try to get that out in the next 20 minutes? I want eyes on it as soon as possible.
On it, Joe. 2 more minutes and we'll be live.
Sam, we're going to need a slot for that story, so figure out what you want to bump. Ashley, we're going to want to translate it into Spanish yesterday.
Si, senor. We can slide it in at 2:30. It should be going out here in about 10 minutes.